Hello, it's Mr Spracklen here. Welcome to the Inspire to Learn Virtual School Video Archive. This is where we keep all the footage from virtual school from the last few months. And from Monday the 25th of May through to Wednesday the 3rd of June, we're going to be replaying you some of our favourite whole school assemblies. And today, we've got a real treat for you. Hello everyone and welcome back. It's 20 past 11 on Tuesday the 14th of April 2020. I hope you've been all having a good morning during these Easter holidays. It's beautiful weather outside. I know some of the children here have been pond dipping this morning, so a lovely thing to be able to do, having a look at some of the newts in our pond. If you are watching us live either on Facebook or YouTube, do make sure you say hello in the comment box. Just type your comments in there. It's always good to see who's watching us and to see what's happening across the school. I'm very lucky this morning that we're joined by a very special mystery guest that's come online to join us today. We're going to share the screen now so that you can see who's here. It's going to look a bit different than normal because I've got a slightly different setup today, but hopefully you'll be able to see this person up in the top left-hand corner of my screen, and that person is Lisa. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning, Mr Spracklen. Hello, children.
How are you today, Lisa?
Oh, I'm fine. Absolutely loving this morning. Beautiful day, beautiful spring. Now,
Lisa is my special friend from Portland. I've known Lisa now for, what, 8-9 years, Lisa?
Getting on a bit, isn't it? You were very young. You're a very young man there.
And Lisa worked with me in my old school, and Lisa is famous, really, for her knowledge of the local area in which she lived. Do you want to tell everyone where you live, Lisa?
Well, I live on Portland, but we live down in Chisel, just under the beach, in the scary area of the floods. But we don't have any floods, obviously. Because dare come to my door.
So I thought it would be really nice today for us to go on a bit of a virtual field trip to Portland. And Lisa's going to be our virtual guide today as we tour around Portland. And if there's something to be known about Portland, then Lisa knows it. And if Lisa doesn't know it, then it's not worth knowing, I think.
Oh, I think that's true. I think that's a fair comment. But you're going to give the children a bit of a tip that sometimes I make things up if I don't know. So it just seems like I know everything.
So we've got to spot the fact from the fiction then.
Yeah, that's good thing.
So Lisa, I've started our journey off in Victoria Square. This is where the children will be familiar that when they come across the beach causeway, they come onto the start of the island. And you were telling me earlier that this used to be the home to something.
Yes, well, where the big pillars are in Victoria Square, when you first come into the square, of course, that's where the railway station was. And that was part of my route to school when I was a little girl, because we lived in Castletown. And there was a little footpath that ran alongside the railway line. And we used to walk down there and pick roses in the summer. Oh, it was quite lovely. And it was all very, very different. The roundabouts weren't there. It was just a big open square. And then we used to just cross the road right the way over, past the little ship pub, and then further along past the car park, which is just near where I live now. And there was a little shop there, and you used to be able to go in there and get your sweeties in the morning, which is naughty, I suppose. But used to get barley sugar sticks in a big jam jar, and they were threepence, which is the equivalent of a penny and a bit now. And then we used to nip up the back and walk up the Coast Guard path, because they were building the sea wall then. I mean, it's that long ago that I went to the Cliff School. It was just a muddy path, and they were building, and we used to stop and watch all the diggers and the men working. Gosh, it was very exciting then, very exciting.
I might see if I can
we used to go in the back.
Or I might see if I can work our way up to the Cliff School, actually, because it's a special place, isn't it? Where the Cliff School was.
Yeah, absolutely lovely. It's now just been built on. They've nearly finished the houses that are there, but they've just put the bell tower back. The school bell tower has gone back on the building, the new building, which is rather nice. I think they call it the Edge now. I don't know if many of them have been sold.
So the picture that I can see, and the children can see, is that there's a building on the right-hand side here. There's a sign that says "Danger, Demolition in Progress," and there's a building.
Cool.
And there's a building with no roof on at the moment in this picture. I think this was
Yes,
taken in 2019.
This is just last year. Now it's all been built. No, it looks very smart. It looks very in keeping, actually. It looks very much like the old school. And now they've put the bell tower back on. I think some of us who went to school there will be thinking it still is the school, and we can look very fondly at the pictures. But it is very close to the edge of the cliff there.
Yes.
Although it's the most gorgeous views where everyone can enjoy the beach, I think it's quite close to the cliff, not my cup of tea.
So in this picture that I can see and that the children can see, there's a red car, and just behind there, there's you can see the horizon, and that essentially is where the cliff is, children. So
yes.
That's why it's called Cliff School, because that building is right on the edge. And Mr. Spracklen remembers some of his first days of working on Portland, going to that school, which was known as Underhill Junior School or Underhill Campus when I was there in 2012. And the children in the playground there used to play a game, which I'm sure Lisa will be familiar with, and that they, on a windy day, they used to open their coats like they were flying like Batman, and they could actually take off. That's right. The children, their feet came off the ground, and they would often go straight into the fence with their coats, because it used to get very, very windy, and sometimes they'd have to close the playground because of the winds were so high there. And if you look, children, if I just move the picture around slightly, you can see that the view from that school is beautiful. It looks out across Chesil Beach, across the Fleet, into the distance there, and that's very much, a view that's on your doorstep, Lisa, isn't it?
Oh, it's lovely. It's every day. That's our daily walk. We walk from the house across and out along the footpath, past the beach huts a little bit, and then have a little rest on the sculpture on the wall there, and then back. And actually now, of course, because the sky is so clear and it's been such beautiful weather, we've had the most amazing views. It's just glorious. It's just glorious to have all that horizon. You don't feel like you're in lockdown. You feel like you've got the whole world at your fingertips when you can look out like that. It's wonderful, wonderful.
So what I think I'll do now is I'll take us maybe down to Castletown. That might just take me a second to navigate through. Down. I'm going down High Street at the moment. Going past.
Or you're going back the street through Chisel.
Through Chisel.
Or you're going down through Fortune as well.
Yeah, I'll go down through Chisel. If I can get that, if I can click right, it won't let me go. Maybe.
Because of course, when I was a little girl, in November, that's the whole of Chisel used to be full up with Portland Fair, and it was the most amazing time. The whole street was full of stalls and rides, and Baker's Grand had the Noah's Ark and the gondolas in there and the bumper cars. Oh, it was so exciting. It was so exciting. There were all sorts of sideshows. I remember Rona the Rat Woman. This woman used to sit in this big glass cage, and all these rats used to climb. Oh, it was terrifying. But everyone had to go in and have a look at all the rats. And then you could have your photograph taken with dear little monkeys. It was awful, really, when you think back. How things have changed, and for the better, I hope. Because I don't think people should have monkeys dressed up for photographs.
No, it's good to hear. It's good to hear that things have changed. I've just I've dropped my Google Street Man into the middle of the sea, so I'm just getting him back. I went a bit.
It's a good job the police. It's a good job the police aren't around, because the other day they got 2 divers out of the water who were spearfishing off of Chesil Beach, because people have been coming to visit, even though we're supposed to be not travelling to try and protect people. These guys had come over with their spearfishing and their wetsuits and had gone in, but the police were patrolling the seafront and hauled them out of the water and sent them on their way.
Right, well, I'm pleased to hear that they were doing that. So, Lisa, I'm outside Osprey Leisure Centre now. Do you want to tell us why Osprey Leisure Centre has significance?
Well, Osprey Leisure Centre used to be the Royal Navy had the sailing club, and it was also the Shore Patrol, which was the naval police station, was there. And when we were children, we could walk through there. We were allowed to walk through, the children who lived there, to get down to Black Barge and down to Portland Castle. But just opposite the Osprey Leisure Centre, which was actually bought from the Navy for the community through a local trust group set up by Dr. Mason and his wife, and is now run for the benefit of the community. Just behind there is what's called the Incline. just by those big power blocks. And that's the old Merchants Railway, where the stone used to come down from Top Hill, from the quarries, to be loaded onto the barges at Stone Pier, which is just a bit further along by the Sport Hotel now. Now it's got a lovely big sort of building that looks like a big ship, actually, that's holiday lets. But of course, Castletown was where the naval base was, and it was such a busy area when I was a child. It was hugely busy. The whole of the fleet used to come in, foreign ships. I mean, people say that Portland was cut off. It never was. I saw every nationality when I was a child. They were everywhere. Different people. It was all so vibrant and so exciting down there. And in fact, the railway used to run across the street, because the main railway used to take the coal to the ships, and they used to and bring it from there to take it up to Top Hill, up to the coal yard.
So I'm on the junction now with Lerwick Road, where the bridge is, which goes up to the incline there. So that would have, this bridge that we can see now, that would have had Portland stone coming underneath it, wouldn't it, on tracks? That would have been part of the railway there. The railway bridge
that led down to the railway station, and that's where the footpath ran along the side, where all the dog roses and where the blackberries grew. It was ever such a pretty walk. I mean, it looks so different nowadays, obviously, but even then, that was before the air station was built, when I lived in Castletown when I was a little girl, so it was quite a different thing. But the stone used to come down. They had their own sidings in Easton, the stone company, to load the stone, to take it off to London, because, of course, most of the buildings in London of significance are built of Portland stone, like St Paul's Cathedral and the Tate Gallery, and all of Whitehall. That's why it's called Whitehall, because the first building there, built by Inigo Jones, is white stone. And all of Regent Street and Portland Place, where the BBC are in London, all of those places are built of Portland stone. Quite incredible that there's any stone left on Portland, really.
So we've got a few people watching that want to say hello. We've got hello, Mr Spracklen, from Lisa. Hello, Mr Spracklen and Lisa from Evie and George, who are watching. Hello, Evie and George.
Hello, Evie
Thank
and
you
George.
for watching.
Are they in Dorchester, or are they?
They're in Dorchester, yeah. And we've got Olive, who's watching. Good morning, Olive. Thank you so much for joining us.
Olive.
And Arlo is joining us as well, Lisa. So it's good to know that some children are joining in and tuning into our broadcast, which is good to see. I'm going to pop the screen back up. Should we go for a little? Let's go for a little drive through Fortunes Well, shall we? That'd be a nice idea. So Fortunes Well would have been very different when the Navy was here. Is that probably fair to say?
Oh my goodness, it was so different. I mean, we had banks, we had the electricity board, the gas board, so many shops, tailors' shops, with about 4 butchers. I mean, as you first come up into Fortunes Well, the doctor's surgery was on the corner. Dr. Adams and Dr. Milne had number 1 Albion Crescent, which is the big tall houses on the corner. And then as you come round the corner and up, there was a do-it-yourself shop, and then there was Cumberland's Bakery on the corner, and on the next corner was the church, which is now the theatre, Royal Manor Theatre.
Let me see if I can get outside the Royal Manor Theatre, because that's that building there. So I'll just get outside there. And that's still a working theatre today, isn't it, Lisa?
Oh yes. It was a Methodist church when I was little, but it was taken over by the theatre back in the late 70s, early 80s, and it's brilliant. They have lovely plays and musical evenings, and it's very convenient because my daughter's house is just 3 doors away. So she lives on that steep bit of pavement. So if we go to the theatre, we can always go to Vienna's first. And then we can always go there afterwards, and she does a very nice cheese and biscuit and nice coffee. So that's very
wonderful.
Interesting.
And then as we go up the hill, we've got the church on the left. Oh, sorry, opposite?
Just opposite there. Opposite was a watchmaker's and a barber's. I don't think the watchmakers, the barbers is still there actually, only it's different people have got it now, obviously. 60 years ago, that's quite different. But just along that piece, there was so many shops. There was a butcher's there as well, just there, and Cumberland's the electrical shop.
Mm-hmm.
What else was there? Oh, there was an off license just on that bit there. And Kerslake Sweetie Shop. Oh, that was lovely. They have the best sweets in the world. You could go in and you could buy 2 ounces and you used to get them in a little poker, and then they twist it up and give you sweeties. Oh, it was lovely. And you could choose them, and you could have an ounce out of one jar and an ounce out of another. Oh, it was lovely.
We've got a comment from Philippa. Philippa says, "This is great history, Lisa. Thank you," from Philippa.
Oh, how sweet. Do you know, we were on Facebook the other day, and somebody started it off, and we all started remembering all the shops from our childhood. And it's quite incredible that so many businesses were on Portland, and everybody bought their things locally. People went to the shops every day. And I think it's going to be even worse when this terrible moment that we're in is over, because I wonder if there'll even fewer shops exist, because people are getting used to shopping online. And it's a shame, because it's very sociable when you go to the shops, and that's the nicest part.
And
but just up from Kerslake Sweet was the pet shop.
The pet shop.
I love the pet shop. Oh, you could go in there and look at the fish and the mice and the hamsters. They didn't have dogs and cats or all that. They did in Weymouth in the pet shop, but not in Portland. But you could go in there and look at all the lovely fish swimming around, and the hamsters and the gerbils, and you could buy things, nice little balls and rings. And next door to that was Mr. Drummond's the butcher. And he used to have a whole animal hanging up, half a pig hanging in the shop, and the pig's head in the window. It was very different. You didn't get things in plastic trays or that. It was the actual animal in front of you. So, it's really quite in your face. It really was.
And where we are now is that we're outside the laundrette and the New Star Inn at the moment. So we've just moved.
Oh, well, opposite the laundrette was where Mr. Drummond's shop was. It's a house now, and so's the pet shop, which was next to it, Mr. Smith. Those two shops opposite, on the corner of Mallams, isn't it? It's Mallams there. It's the corner of Mallams. And on that side is the New Star. And then next to the New Star, which is a block of flats now, actually, that used to be the stables.
Oh. So
just there. No, I think the flat's called the stables. They were stables there. And next door again, was the best shop. I loved it in there. It was the wool shop, and it was owned by two elderly sisters. And it was so stuffed with balls of wool and everything to do with sewing, all your embroidery threads and transfers and patterns and books of patterns, and they were so lovely. You could barely walk around the shop. It was only a tiny shop, but you could barely walk around because there were big bales of everything, and you could put your wool aside because people couldn't afford to buy very much at one time in those days. So you'd order your wool for a jumper, and then you'd go in every week and buy an ounce of wool for, like, I don't know, 2 and 6 or something. That's 12.5 pence in modern money.
Wow.
And it was lovely. And then just along from there again was Warren and Rod, the photographers, where you could go and get your passport photographs done if you were posh and you had a passport. But if you weren't, you just happened to do your wedding photos, obviously. Because not many people went abroad in those days. It was quite a thing to go abroad back in the 50s and 60s.
And obviously, Lisa,
what was next?
This road's now one way. Has it always been one way through here?
No, it used to be 2-way. It was always 2-way. And it's funny, really, because there weren't very many cars, so it wasn't like today. I mean, when we moved to Top Hill, I think I used to stand in the road and play 2-ball up against the wall of the house, and I never used to have to come in from the road, because there weren't any cars that went in Grosvenor Road or Channel View. There were only about 3 people who had cars in those days. We had a car. It was lovely. we had